Everyone, so for today's demonstration, you guys are going to be watching me make pasta fagioli soup. This is what my family is going to be eating for dinner tonight as well. I just want to go over your ingredients really quickly and then we're going to get started with this. You need about 1 pound of Italian sausage. Another alternative would be like a turkey Italian sausage or something of that nature. I have a bag of baby spinach here. We're going to use about 2 cups here. 3 carrots, 3 celery ribs. For the garlic, I cheated and I got the already minced garlic. I dislike chopping up garlic quite a bit. So what I'm going to do is use, for the 4 cloves of garlic, I'm going to use about 2 teaspoons of the minced garlic. I've got 1 sweet onion in here. I tend to like the sweetness of the sweet onions in my soups the best. And then we've got some fresh flat leaf parsley leaves that I don't have right now that you could use for a garnish if you want on top of your finished soup. For our canned goods, I have a can, it was a 15-ounce can of cannellini beans, which I drained and rinsed. Instead of a 28-ounce can of tomatoes, I just grabbed 2 about 14.5-ounce cans of already diced up tomatoes, but you could get a 28-ounce can of tomatoes and just chop those up. I've got a 32-ounce box of less sodium chicken broth, which equals up to the 4 cups that we need for this soup recipe. I have 6 ounces of the ditalini pasta, which is about a cup there. We have some Italian seasoning, we have some red pepper flakes, we've got some salt, and we have some dried oregano here as well. We have our olive oil and a wedge of fresh Parmesan cheese. You don't have to use this in here, but I do think it makes a difference in the soup. It's delicious in there. And then we'll use about a cup of water in here as well. So what we're going to start off doing here first, let me turn this a bit here, is we are going to brown up our Italian sausage. So what we're going to do here first is we're going to turn our heat on to about medium. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a tablespoon of olive oil into the pan. And what it says in your recipe is to heat it up until the olive oil is shimmering. So that means kind of shiny looking, a little bit glossier than what it looks like right now. And then to prepare the Italian sausage, so right now we have the Italian sausage in links here. What we're going to do is we're going to take them out of the casing and then kind of break up the Italian sausage into smaller chunks while we're cooking it. So I can hear the oil starting to heat up here. So this is my Dutch oven that we're using. It's just a larger pot because you want to make sure that you have a nice large pot to use for this. And I am now getting the Italian sausage out of its casing. And I'll just break that up while I'm cooking it. I'm going to give my hands a quick wash after touching this because I don't like touching a bunch of other things after I've touched raw meat. And then I'll start breaking that up into pieces. And what I have here, I like using heat resistant rubber scrapers. You could even use a Teflon spatula or even a wooden spatula for this part. But I really like using the rubber scrapers, and this one happens to be heat resistant. And we're going to cook this sausage until it is light brown, no longer that kind of reddish pink hue. So I'm kind of chopping this up as it browns here, so we can have kind of smaller pieces. We don't really want like really big chunks in this soup. I find it easier to break it up when it's still kind of raw than when it's cooked all the way through. Obviously, be careful of your hands. This is going to be very hot. I'm continuing to kind of chop this up into smaller pieces as I cook, because sometimes it seems like they stick back together a little bit. So you may have seen, like if you've ever eaten at Olive Garden before, this is more of an Italian type soup. So you might have had that there before. Kind of similar to minestrone, except for it's got meat in it, whereas a lot of times minestrone does not. So this is getting there, but not quite yet. Remember, it's important to cook your sausage all the way through, even though there's still some cooking time left on here. You don't want to eat undercooked sausage at all, because that could cause a foodborne illness, and nobody wants that. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to add in the carrots, the celery, and the onion. And what we're going to do here is we're going to cook this until the vegetables are somewhat softened, about 5 minutes. So I'm going to make sure to stir that on and off, because I don't want it to get burned or stuck on the bottom. Even though we did add some oil, it can still get burned or stuck. So we definitely don't want that. You can see that I added a bit more vegetables in here than what the recipe called for. But like I said, I really like to add as many vegetables as I can to my dishes. I always go a little bit overboard with those. Give that a bit of a stir. I set a timer, but it does not, you don't have to go exactly 5 minutes. It might be a little more, it might be a little less. It just kind of depends on how you like your vegetables in there too. you could do ground beef in here as well, but to me, the Italian sausage or the turkey Italian sausage adds a lot more flavor to it. Just a couple more minutes on here. While I'm waiting for that to get ready, what I'm going to do is, so we have this Parmesan cheese wedge here, right? So the very end of this here is called the rind of the Parmesan cheese. What we're going to do for flavor, and like I said, this part is optional. You don't have to get a Parmesan cheese rind here at the store. You can leave this part out. You can always use the pre-shredded Parmesan in your recipe if you would like as well. But we're going to cut off that rind here, which I just did, and we're going to stick that in the soup. It kind of helps to enhance some of its flavor. Okay, so it's been approximately 5 minutes here. So now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add in our 4th teaspoon. So this is a 4th teaspoon. We're going to do a 4th teaspoon of salt. We're going to do a 4th teaspoon of red pepper. Now, again, if you have people who are sensitive to spice, you can leave the red pepper out. That's a really small amount there, though. We're going to do a 1/2 teaspoon of Italian seasoning. Here's my Italian seasoning. We're going to do 1 teaspoon of oregano. And we're going to do my 2 teaspoons. I'm going to do them a little rounded because, again, I like some garlic in mine. We're going to do about 2 teaspoons of our minced garlic. And we're just going to cook that for about a minute just to get everything kind of mixed in and incorporated a bit. Some people really like the smell of garlic. Other people do not. I love the smell of garlic myself. That smells really good to me right now. So next step is we are going to add in our tomatoes. So I'm going to put juice and all in there. And that was my little cheater step again here with getting the already diced tomatoes. The original recipe called for whole peeled tomatoes that you would chop up yourself. I prefer to have a little less to do here. We're going to add in our cannellini beans, which is a type of a white bean. You really could use any kind of bean that you want. And then the other thing we're going to put in here is our wedge from the Parmesan. And we're going to give this a stir. The other part that I almost forgot to add in here was we also want 1 cup, just 1 cup so far of our chicken broth. Let me get that measured out really quickly. And what we're going to do here with this is we are going to let this simmer for about 10 minutes. I will add in our cup of chicken broth there. Give that another stir. Now this is going to be a really thick soup, again, because I added in those extra vegetables. That's the way I like it, but you guys could be a little bit more exact with your vegetables if you want. You can also, at the end, add in a little extra chicken broth if you have it on hand. So I'm going to cover that. And I am going to set a timer for about 10 minutes. Okay, so now what we're going to do, you can see that our soup has been simmering here. What we are going to do right now is we are going to add the remainder of our chicken broth, which is about 3 cups. And while I'm doing that, I'm turning the heat up back to high, because what we're going to do here is we are going to bring the soup back up to a boil. And then we're also adding in 1 cup of water. So we're going to bring this soup back up to a boil. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add our pasta in. Okay, so it took a couple of minutes here, but our soup is now back up to a boil. We are going to add in our ditalini pasta. And just so you guys are aware, you can use any kind of pasta you want. It does not have to be ditalini. It's kind of hard to find that as well. But this is the type that I prefer in this soup. It's a little bit more authentic to the type of the soup as well. Your minestrones and your pasta fagioli and that kind of stuff tends to use that type of pasta. But again, any kind of pasta would do. You could use mini shells, you could use elbow macaroni, you could even use penne or something of that nature. You could break up spaghetti into smaller pieces too. We are going to now let this cook for about 10 minutes until the pasta is tender. Okay, so as you can see, our soup has been boiling here. It has been cooking the pasta for about 10 minutes. So what we're going to do here now is we are going to turn off the heat. I will be honest, I have been fishing around. Oh, I think I might have found it. Part of the Parmesan wedge, but it's a small piece. I think I'm going to leave it in there. It'll be like a little good luck Parmesan wedge. Like whoever finds it, I don't know, they win the Parmesan wedge finding contest. I don't know. But anyway, so what we're going to do now is we are going to add in our 2 cups of spinach. I got 1 cup in there. And we're going to add in 1 more cup. Probably going to end up a little bit more than 2 cups because I'm really kind of shoving that spinach in there. Like I said, I like my vegetables in there. My boys are probably not going to be pleased with me because they absolutely despise spinach, but it's good for you. So we're going to add that in, and we're going to stir this up until the spinach is wilted, which just means they don't look quite as crisp anymore. They get kind of that kind of more soft looking appearance. If you don't like spinach, some people like kale better. I don't know why, to be quite honest with you, but some people like kale better. So you could use kale in here instead. You could use like a green cabbage or something as well, although that would take a little bit longer to cook. I don't think there's enough spinach in there, to be quite honest. I want to add a little bit more. this is our soup. It's a nice thick soup. If you like a brothier soup, as I said earlier in the video, you can add in a little bit more chicken broth if you have it available. So at this point in time, what you would want to do is you would want to taste it to see, do you need any salt and pepper in here? I personally don't think it needs any extra salt and pepper. I think it's good as it is. So what you can do when you're serving this out, this is finished at this point. When you're serving this out, if you did use the wedge of Parmesan cheese, you can take your grater for each of the bowls of soup and you can grate a little bit of fresh Parmesan cheese on top of each serving. You could also use already grated Parmesan cheese because you guys know that I like the little cheater methods as well. Okay, hope you enjoyed the demonstration and I hope you guys get to make this at home.